Greetings, art connoisseurs. It's Drew. Time for another installment of the CPMA. That's the California Pickin Museum of Art, where I show you individual examples of fine art and antiquities from my own private collection. So staying on with the African theme today, guys. This is another item from my collection I've had for many years. It's a beautiful stylized antelope known as a chihuahua. C-H-I-W-A-R-A. Now sometimes it's spelled a little different, but anyways, this is a super large example of a chihuahua. And what a chihuahua is this mythical half-man, half-antelope creature that I believe helped the people with their fertility and agriculture. So these are headdresses, if you can believe it, that Africans would wear on top of their head, and they would perform ceremonial dances with these things on. Now, in many cases you'll see smaller chihuahuas, maybe 18 to 24 inches tall. This one is probably the tallest one I've ever actually seen. This happens to be, let me see, hold on a second. Grab my tape measure. Look at this. Now it's on a stand, and I'll tell you why it's on a stand. It would need to be on a stand regardless, but it's 4'2" high with the stand. Alone on its own, it's 3'8" tall. So almost 4 feet. Now I gotta tell you, this one had some damage in the bottom, and this would have, don't laugh, but it has the male. They come in male and female. This one happens to be a large male. The female varieties will have a little chihuahua, another little antelope, right on her back. And let's see if we can find a picture of that. But the females would be smaller, much smaller, and then they would have a little antelope riding on the back. This is carved out of one solid piece of wood, guys. And when you buy African art, what I do is, one of the first things I do is turn it over and look at the back and the surface patina, etc. But I also smell the object. These, a lot of times, the ones that you really want are the ones that were used by the people in ceremonies, etc., and not for trade. So they used to keep these in their huts, whatever that's called, yurts or whatever you want to call it, and they would light fires in the middle of the huts and to keep them warm, with a hole at the top, I believe. It would have to be like a chimney. And so all these objects that were inside their little living area would smell like charcoal or burnt wood, and this just has a great smell to it. So I knew at that point also that this was authentic. I bought this many years ago at a small antique store. Right here there are some little missing pieces. There sometimes are dangling earrings, let's say, from these ears. Sometimes I've seen spikes through here. But look at the incredible amount of work that somebody took to carve this. And this is quite old. These are concentric rings with this inner carving. Now I want you to look at this. This is pretty fascinating. Look how many layers there are. There's this outer layer. He carves back one layer here, comes back out here, goes back in, comes back out, goes back in. Wow, lots of layering right there. And this would have the male phallus underneath, to put it nicely. It's there in the bottom. Let me just rock this. Let me take this out. Now the bottom part of this guy was broken. So what was I going to do? I needed to display it. So I got this great piece of what's called spalted maple. And this is a tree that's pretty, it's very expensive. And it's very lightweight, and what it is, it's a tree, a maple tree that fell in the forest, and that the minerals from the soil affected the tree, and it formed this great patterning, these dark and light spots. That's called spalted maple. Anyways, I found the perfect big chunk of it at my lumber store, and my exotic lumber store, let's say that, not any lumber store. And I saw this at the top of this thing. It had this kind of chunk taken out of it. It wasn't perfect, and I said to myself, wait a minute, that looks like the perfect shape for this. And what I did was I inserted some of these pegs into the bottom. Now normally this would have the headdress that would come down probably another 6 to 8 inches, and it would attach to like a kind of a straw wig that they used to wear, which I'm going to show you in a second. And I made this for this item. Look how perfect that is, guys. Fits right in there. Gets kind of tightly around that little corner, and that's how I did it. Look at that. Now we go to the fun part, which is I was showing you on my last video my African Akuaba figures, my fertility dolls that were in the Smithsonian Institute, and this book, this incredible book. Look at this book. I mean, it's so thick and beautifully photographed. And here we go. That's a Chihuahua. Just about similar to the one I have. And here's the two different versions. The male version on the left, the female version on the right, which happens to be pretty darn tall in this case. And there's the little small little antelope on her back. And there's a little bit of information regarding the fertility aspects of a Chihuahua. And this one's from Mali in Africa. And you can just read that right there, from the Bambara people. And as I said, these were used to get more of a yield out of their crop, and possibly also to be fertile in their baby making. In addition to that, I have another page from another great antique book. Just happened to rip out of this book. It's a paperback, I believe. And there it is again, the Bambara people. It probably is the same. It's probably taken from the same people. But there they are again, and see how the Chihuahua is woven into some type of grass or straw hat that looks like dreadlocks. Bunch of straw, and then they wrap it with fabrics to hold it on, and they dance around with these things on. And I guarantee you mine is about a foot taller than this one right here, with this incredible tall antler rack right there. And let me turn this around so you can see this from different angles, because it just has a super quality to it. I'm out here in the wind today, so it's a little bit tricky trying to keep everything still. But yeah, stylized African antelope / human figure called a Chihuahua. Look at this baby from the front. Now if I was on my tripod stand, I would try to put this thing on my head and show you how difficult that would be to have an almost 4-foot wooden heavy item on your head. Pretty incredible. So I love to find parts of my collection in these books and on the internet and on the Antique Roadshow. I've seen these on the Antique Roadshow before. And there's the Akuaba figure that I showed you earlier. But how cool is that? Let's see if it says anything about... See, sometimes it's pronounced or it's spelled with a T-Y-I-W-A-R-A. And I've also seen it spelled with a C-H-I-W-A-R-A. And I don't know centimeters, but there's the size of these particular chihuahuas, and there's the female version on the left there and the male version on the right. So anyways, I like African art. It used to be extremely collectible. It's still collectible and it will make a comeback, but just like with anything else, it really took a dive in the recession. And but there are some pretty heavy-duty African art collectors that would be willing to spend for a beautiful item like this, which is not for sale, of course. And I'm featuring it on my beautiful vintage Persian rug that's doing a very nice job as a background. Yep, African Chihuahua. Alright guys, if you like that, go and check out my, please like my page on Facebook called The California Picker, and leave a comment and hit your like there, and share this with anybody on Google+, Facebook, of course, Instagram, Twitter, all that social media stuff. And come on back to the next episode of the CPMA, the California Pickin Museum of Art. Sorry this video went a little long, but I thought it was very interesting to show you. Alright guys, keep on picking your fine art from the greatest museum in the world, the Smithsonian Institute. Cheers now.